change. It's a sure thing. Change, change. Expect a miracle change. Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Now do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 do.
The views and opinions of our guest and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of New Thought Media Network, or any organization we may be affiliated with. Here at New Thought Media Network, we welcome freedom of speech and courageous conversations. There are many topics that can be difficult to navigate. Challenging the status quo and engaging in lively debate is important to expanding our understanding of one another, and life in general. Creating a peaceful world doesn't happen because no one disagrees, it happens from a willingness to understanding one another. In our programming, we strive to expand consciousness and assist people in creating remarkable lives. Your comments are welcome at info@ntmedia.org.
Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. Good morning. Where you may be in the morning, you may be in the evening, and you may be in the time zone that it's afternoon. So welcome from wherever you are. And this is our Spirit Cafe show on Wednesday afternoons. And it is my honor, Cheryl Rogers, with my my co-host, Mark Dupuis, to be here with you today. Before we begin, I'm just going to share our land acknowledgement, which is important to us here in Canada. We work, live, and play on the historical and traditional territory of many First Nations. And as we gather on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. This includes the Métis, Inuit, and all other Indigenous peoples. We also acknowledge that as we continue to grow and expand on these lands, there's still unresolved and sometimes dangerous inequality and discrimination toward our BIPOC and 2S LGBTQ plus family. By making these acknowledgements, we strive to be allies and take an active part in peace and reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality because we are one. Mark, tell us about our wonderful guest today.
I'm already excited to introduce Edwina. We spoke a few moments before we came on live, and I could just say I'm excited to get into talking with her. So we're going to introduce Edwina Cowell, who is the co-founder of Spiritual Playdate, which is an innovative platform to teach love, acceptance from home, places of worship, schools, etc., to children. In partnership with cultural, academic, child experts, spiritual teachers, they teach social emotional life skills. I hear, Edwina, you are a great listener, a learner, and a pantheist that I think maybe you'll explain a little bit more to us. One of the things that I read on your website that struck me is it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken adults. Wow, how profound. Can you come on in now, Edwina?
Yeah.
Hi
Welcome,
there.
Edwina. Welcome. Good to
Hi,
see
everyone.
you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you
You're very
for
welcome. You're
joining
very
us.
welcome.
Yeah. So, like Mark says, pantheist. What is a pantheist?
Oh, so a pantheist. Well, I'll just give you the context of what my journey has been, which is raised in a really conservative uh, religion for 14 years till I sort of walked away, became an atheist. Very lot of fear-based early stuff, which, freaked me out and didn't really serve me very well. Just kept me from sleeping most of the time. And through over the years, I went through a number of, my journey's just taken me in a lot of places, my spiritual journey. There are times in our lives where I think that we're just like, I'm done with religion. I don't need spirit. And then we have our midlife spiritual breakdown, of course. And then we start looking for something or returning to roots, trying to figure out what's next. I ended up in a unity church, which I felt very much at home, and I still do. And that's where our program was sort of born out of that energy and those teachings originally. But because of the program has an interfaith approach, I have been involved with so many folks from so many different faith traditions and learned so much over the years. And my journey has sort of taken me to the point where I would call myself a pantheist right now. And this is my own personal approach, pantheist means everything is God. No, God is not just in us. He is us. He is us. She is us. We are all, everything is God.
The trees are us, the ocean is us, the planet is us.
Exactly. So I landed here for now, and I don't know whether I'll stay here or not, because I don't see this truth journey to be a very static thing. I find it to be, I'm constantly growing and constantly improving. And, but for now, if I had to define myself, which I don't like to very much, I would say I'm a pantheist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Edwina. I'm curious to know about this, your spiritual play date, and what inspired you? Why do you want to equip children with mental well-being?
Well, so originally the way it was, our origin story was 3 moms and 3 7-year-old boys on the living room floor. And Cheryl, I know we've talked about this before, but we were all there. All 3 moms were there for different reasons. We were having a play date with our boys weekly. I can't remember, maybe Tuesdays or Wednesdays after school. The boys would run around and wrestle, and we would sit around and drink coffee. But all 3 of us had come from slightly different perspectives. And all 3 of us felt like we wanted to be part of the conversation of, this spiritual conversation that was either not being had or being had at Sunday school and we weren't part of, and they were boys. So God knows they did not share very much, And I always felt like I was in unity at the time. I wanted it to be, just part of the everyday conversation. I wanted those conversations. And I've always felt like I wanted them young because I feel very strongly that by the time kids are adolescents, I think a lot of parents think they're going to have these big, deep, profound conversations. And maybe some parents do. But I would say that most parents will find that their kids really want no part of that. And are, if anything, push back on any opinions and thoughts and things that the parents are trying to sort of impart once they're that old. So at 7, 3 moms, 3 boys, living room floor, we just decided to open the books, look at maps, talk about world religion, talk about God, talk about heaven and hell. And we talked about it very contextually. I believe this because I was taught this. And because mandating a child, telling them what to believe It's a great way to turn off their brains. When you tell them this is what you believe, don't allow them to have the context of what our entire, human race, the scope of things that are believed by people when they aren't fact, they aren't fiction necessarily, but they're beliefs. So we wanted very much to get the kids to be critical thinkers and give them a more broad understanding of the world. I think what's happened in our generation growing up is we were all steeped in one specific, not all, again, I'm speaking in some generalities and painting with a broad brush, but it's this one ideology that we're told this is true. And not only is it true, but you have to believe this, or what are the consequences? Just, hellfire for eternity. That's all. So not only were you told to believe it, but you were told to believe it with this very punitive, unhealthy way of approach to life.
Fearful approach.
A fearful approach.
Yeah.
And so that was really our early mission, was to just sit down with the kids, with our own kids.
I love them.
Start to open a conversation. And within several years, by the time the boys were probably 13 or 14, we had created a website and we're launching nationally. And we created a kind of we don't like to call it curriculum, but it's topics. They're life skill topics is what we call them. Because, if you go into high school or middle school, a life skill is balancing your checkbook, brushing your teeth. Those are life skills. Life skills, in my opinion, life skills are understanding forgiveness, belief, gratitude, understanding the world around you, your own emotions, your behavior, and what's driving those. That to me is a very valuable life skill. So we've, started to develop this site. And I would say in the last 7 or 8 years, the mission has become more urgent for me because I see our next generations there are so many issues that they are facing, really serious issues, and we're losing them in many ways. And we're seeing mental health decline everywhere across the board, not just with youth, but very much so with youth. For so many reasons. So I don't know if we'll have time to watch the little video. We can watch it later. The 2-minute video that talks about all those things and why we need to sit down with our kids early. Our goal is to start, it's social, emotional, and spiritual life skills. Social emotional learning is very important. How do we relate to each other? How do we understand our own emotions and our behaviors? But the spiritual piece is critical. And we've scrubbed that from so many things now in schools. And frankly, many people are leaving organized faith. So the spiritual piece of it is critical. And they are finally starting to realize how critical there's a lot of new stuff out that show how important that spiritual piece can be, to have faith in something bigger than yourself, have belief in a purpose for being here in our existence. So because
like what you're saying is so true, and something that I'm observing, and I don't know if that's all over, is that it's an either or. Parents are either religious and educate their kids in the religion, or don't believe in religion and really don't want to do anything because they don't know what to do. Right?
I think most fall into the category. Most of the ones that are sort of floundering are just in a position where they don't know what to do. They don't feel there's an alternative. It's not that they don't want it. They're afraid of the indoctrination, or they just can't handle the Sunday mornings or the Saturday mornings or the commitment or the money. There's so many reasons. Everybody's working constantly and they don't have time to be with their families, and maybe Saturday's the only day they all get to sleep. So
and I would say as well, even having the time to contemplate and think about where they are spiritually, because I find that parents today, their lives are so busy. They're running from one thing to another. They hardly have a moment to breathe. The kids are in different curriculums and, sports and all kinds of things. And so it's even, I think it's even a lot to expect them to try and figure out for themselves where they're at.
I would agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
It's just life has become extremely complicated and very demanding for everybody. And as a parent, you're already tired when you have a 6-year-old and already spinning all the time. So it's not at the top of the list of things that, it's just not a priority.
Exactly.
And like I said, I also feel like a little bit of the paradox of that is that's exactly when it should be a priority.
Yeah.
And once that window's closed, it's hard to open it.
Yeah.
So I think that having other opportunities, other ways to bring spirituality into the conversation and making it part of your everyday life. And the other thing is parents are very intimidated about talking about these things.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
very timid. They don't have, they're not ministers and rabbis and youth ed teachers. They're just, faith teachers.
Yeah.
They're not. So they don't want to do damage, so they do nothing.
Yeah.
By extension, that does some damage because they're just going to sort of pick up whatever comes along, which may or may not be healthy for them or serve them.
Yeah.
I just had a question that popped up, and I have no idea if you can answer this, but it came in, so I'm going to say, do you have an example, like a success story, or like, I know this is really broad, the program and whatever, but is there something that sticks in your mind that you go, oh my goodness, I saw this at the start and this at the end? Of course, what you do is all confidential, I'm sure, but as an example, is there some example that you go, yes?
So I would say my favorite example is a big example that we are very public about too, because was so astonishing. We have an affiliate in the Ivory Coast, and the Ivory Coast is a fascinating place. It's very developed. They do not have public libraries there. Like if you looked at Google photos of the Ivory Coast with stadiums, and you're like, how does it not have public libraries? So anyway, one of our affiliates there, he would run these weekends. I think this was a one-day event, and it was an all-day event. It was Spiritual Playdate. It had teachers. It had schools that came in. Some of the parents came in, and they did several topics that day with the kids. And specifically invited to this gathering were a group of African albinos. And the albino community in Africa is very marginalized. It's, again, very ironic because the albino community is very colorless and sort of white, and they're demonized for that, which, listen, that's another show. So these kids were there from the albino community, and the national news showed up, and they questioned, after the whole day, they questioned this little 8-year-old albino girl, and she got on that news and rocked it. And she's like, we need to stop bullying each other. We need to be kind to each other. We need to take care. And everybody's mind blown what it did for her community. And the leaders, the adult leaders in her community were blown away. So she became, we gave her our first Junior Peace Influencer Award in front of her school. And she got a medal and flowers, and her family got a thank you, and the school got a membership. And so you don't know how much you can impact young kids before they start to, I always say middle school is, I call it the cruelest season. If we can get to our kids before middle school and strengthen them so they can get through middle school, you are going to see a different child in the end. Because that's when they're out there on the high wire and the kids are taking shots, and they're not prepared, and they don't know how they feel themselves. They're trying to figure themselves out. And so here's this little 8-year-old girl who is now like the confidence queen. She's probably out speaking somewhere. She's like 13 now or something. She's literally, she's going to become an activist. She knows who she is. She defined herself and spoke her truth, and boom. And I'm not necessarily, I don't want to take all the credit from this one day or this one event, but it shows you how when those kinds of things are all reinforced, what do they already have in them. And again, my concern now, my urgency as kids grow so fast. Yeah. We have this little time, 5 or 6 to 11, maybe 12 if we're lucky, That's that's a generalization, but we have got to start now. We have to look around, start right now, where you are with whoever you can work with, whether it's parents in your community, whether it's at your church, whether it's a therapist. That's necessary, and it's necessary now.
Yeah, so true. I love that also it's interfaith. So they're not only learning life skills and emotional skills development, but also about each other, different faiths, instead of, and being inclusive of it all, instead of, these are exclusive, which I love. So one of the questions I have, Edwina, is how do we reach the parents?
Well, so I think it's a different obstacle for everybody. Again, we're working globally now, so it can be different. Like in the Ivory Coast, it's going to be different. It's going to be maybe harder for them to connect with parents, but he still connects with parents. And I do beat the drum about this a lot.
Yeah,
because
he's doing amazing work. I was on a call with you and him, and I was blown away.
Yeah, we have to put that group together and get that call going again, because he started doing some incredible things just from that one call.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
We do have calls for parents too, and we have trainings, and we do have opportunities to try to get your group going. The thing is, it's so important to try to figure out what's the solution for your local community.
Right.
We can't fix everything everywhere. We just can't. So what are the obstacles? So for example, let's say I'm going to use a Unity Church because that's what we talk about a lot, or CSL Church with a Sunday school. One of the things that we came up with is we have topics. So fear and anxiety, let's say, we have these books that are incredible after the fall. It's almost too long to read it during your Sunday school program. So we've encouraged groups to start their own lending library. So you come on Sunday, and this month we're working on fear and anxiety, and the parents can take those books home. You check them out. First of all, you can put them out as a request for the parents to even donate, which they'd like to do. But you want to get the parents reinforcing things at home. Even if they're not using the specific whole curriculum, they can listen to a Spotify playlist. They can play a game. They can read the books. There's meditations available, like little 5-minute meditations that they play at night when the kid's going to sleep, for both of them.
Right.
And so they're, just again, by extension, they're getting a lot of this information, and they're supported in giving it to their child. So it makes it a little bit easier. Having events, inviting parents and having events. We have a lot of creative, fun events like Footprints for Fairness we've done in a lot of places, which is they chalk paint with their feet about social justice and protest. And, there's different events and things. We've helped some centers that have done interfaith block parties to bring larger groups together. It depends on what the situation is. I would say to all you ministers out there, I am tired of hearing, we don't have kids, we don't need this. And I would say to you, you need this because you don't have kids and family.
Right.
Because your community, if you would like to fill your center with people that are hungry, starving for support and help, you need to find youth and family. And I cannot say it enough. I cannot say it enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're so right, and I love too that it's grassroots, right? That it really came from you three moms wanting to give this experience to your kids, and then saw the positivity that came out of that, and so developed this so that others could have it as well, which is, and it's grown into, it's really grown a lot. I mean, I think Uganda was on the call, and
we had our first affiliate from Taiwan.
Oh my gosh.
Uganda, Unity Nigeria just literally got an email today. We're working with Unity Nigeria. So we're very excited to be in some of these emerging nations.
I think that's wonderful. That really is wonderful. And again, because it doesn't draw a line between people, it's really interfaith. It's about skills development, emotional support, things like that, which really, to me, speaks to the oneness of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. I think it's that, like I said, our feelings and our behaviors that is the one thing that it's very difficult for us to understand. Mm-hmm. And we usually grow up and end up in therapy before we start to understand, oh, I'm behaving this way. I'm drinking or eating because of this. I'm not, we don't put, we don't connect the dots. Yeah. So if you can we can set our kids up to start to connect those dots and give them some coping skills to manage when they're afraid. There is nothing more important than our kids trying to make kids understand that they can help themselves be safe. They can feel safe. Yeah. So I have a funny story because I have a rescue dog right now, and was abused, and he's very skittish around big men. He actually was missing an eye, and somebody clearly knocked it out of him. And so he's a wonderful dog, but he gets really riled up when someone comes to the door or the man comes in the house. And so I don't know how many of you have seen the show The Dog Whisperer or heard The Dog Whisperer, but I watch him, and he's very much about energy and emotion and confidence. And if they sense you're afraid, they become afraid. It's that simple. It is the same with kids. Yeah. Kids feel safe. And if you are walking around in fear all the time, they pick that up. They feel that. They feel that. And so and they can't learn, they can't function, they can't sleep. All the things that happen to us when we are when we are just marinating in anxiety, the kids. So some of our goal is to start to find inroads, different ways to help parents not have to deal with, oh God, I think some therapist is going to fix my kid. Well, why don't we sit down and just talk about this and understand it better? Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think strongly that houses of worship, this is a wonderful role for them to play. It really serves their community. That's what we need. We need houses of worship, all houses of worship around the world, serving our community. Not filling their own seats, but serving.
Absolutely. Getting out rather than having people come in.
Right.
Yeah. So on this note, we do have to take a 2-minute break. So we'll be back. Don't go away. And thank you, Edwina. Really, this is such a wonderful, rich conversation. And we'll be back with Edwina Cowell from Spiritual Playdate right after this.
It was a treat. It was a bonding. It was a celebration of men. It was a celebration of men who want to deepen in their spiritual awareness of one another, of themselves.
Welcome. We are a brotherhood of spiritually minded and open-hearted positive men. We invite you to join us.
And I came in knowing one person. I left knowing all of the group. And I feel like I came in knowing meeting strangers, but knowing and leaving brothers.
Come experience the New Thought Men's Gathering, Foundations 2024. Friday, March 15th through Sunday, March 17th. With Reverend Robert Brzezinski, Reverend Patrick Creelman, Reverend Eamon Duffy, and special guest musician Jamie Lula. In Vernonia, Oregon, at Camp Cedar Ridge. Learn more and register at www.newthoughtmens.community.
Welcome back. You're watching Spiritual Café on New Thought Media Network, and we are here today with Edwina Cowell from Spiritual Playdate, and you can find more information on her organization at spiritualplaydate.com. So, Edwina, one of the Mark's got a question, and then I'll come back with mine. Mark.
Okay. So I tend to ask, I don't know why I'm echoing here, but ask questions that are maybe a little off center. But so have you had any pushback? So you're bringing this positive, nurturing environment, and sometimes people push back on that. And I'm just wondering if you've experienced any of that.
Not really. There has been a comment or two occasionally on social media about another faith that doesn't align or something. And I think that anybody that can look at, and it, frankly, when our interfaith approach is an inclusive approach, and it's not really meant to get deep into the weeds about a lot of ideas, because all of these faiths sort of have, they are very conservative and they're very liberal end, and it's really not our intention to teach any of those religions. Religious literacy, yes. So we have spiritual teachers, but again, when we take a topic like spiritual teachers, we talk about what is a spiritual teacher, and who were these ancient prophets and teachers that we all look at, and then we take those 3 sessions, and by the end of the session, we are asking the kids, who are your spiritual teachers? So in the second session, we talk about different teachers that maybe weren't, the gods and prophets that, the MLKs and the, wise quotes and things from today, from more, contemporaries. But the last one is really like, who are your spiritual teachers? The activity is, who are the people in your life that uplift you and inspire you? And we all have our spiritual teachers. It doesn't have to be that ancient prophet. So it's really about reflection and thinking broadly about these topics. Same thing with sacred texts. We do the exact same thing with sacred texts. We talk about ancient texts, and we have games that show them all the books, not all the books, but many, many books. It's a matching game. It's a computer game where they drag and match the Quran to, all those things. And, but the last one, Then we talk about texts and words, and then we ask them if they have the opportunity to use a phone to send a sacred text. Your words are sacred. They last. They're enduring. Okay. When you're texting, that's sacred. You don't destroy someone with those words. You lift them up. So we try to make it relevant in a whole new way. You know, you're thinking text, sacred text.
Yeah.
Some old scripture in another language. Let's talk about what a text is.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are the kinds of things that we're trying to make it more relevant and more impactful so that kids can appreciate it. And that's why there is a Spotify playlist, and there are games, you know, literal virtual games on there, and recorded audio meditations that they can plug and play, and books, and, you know, things that make it more interesting. So there's a lot of supporting resources too. And the activities are really based on ways to just get them thinking, you know.
Your question seems to me empowers their minds. Like who are spiritual teachers? Yeah. So they have a way of thinking through and a power in saying, yeah, this is my spiritual person. This is my teacher, right?
Wonderful. Exactly right.
Awesome.
Well, this is the question. We use the Socratic method for that reason. Ionesco, I think I'm quoting Ionesco. He said, it's the question that enlightens, not the answer. We don't, giving someone an answer doesn't, you know, telling them not to hit is one of my favorite things. I'm like, what? While the parent's hitting them, don't hit somebody, you know, instead of asking them, why don't we hit someone? Why don't we hit? You know, make them think about why don't we hit? There's a
It's very interactive, and that's what's so lovely. It's not telling anybody how to think or how to be or how to do, but it's interactive, and like Mark said, empowering kids to really think for themselves.
Exactly. And the pushback, like I said, it's been very minor. We are not gonna appeal to any extreme sorts of ideologies, belief systems, groups that are, you know, in that really extreme, because that's sort of where some of the problem areas really are from a lot of us. And so I don't think we're going to appeal. However, there's an Orthodox rabbi that I met with at a conference, and he thought it was great and loved it. And he's considering coming on on the advisory board. And so, you know, we have some very interesting people that understand the intention of this, and they understand why it's important that we continue to do these kinds of things, regardless of what their own role is within their own faith.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to play the video that you were talking about? Do you have it on hand? Or
I'm going to play the video.
Okay.
I think I have it on hand. Give me a second here while I pull it up. I closed everything up so my screen doesn't look so messy.
Isn't that what life is about?
What's that?
The interconnectedness, getting along.
There's a lot of proof that the most satisfying thing that we can have as a human, because we are all trying to satisfy ourselves, aren't we? The most satisfying thing that we can have as a human being is a healthy relationship with another human. So it really fills our well. Sure. And, I think, you know, that again, we're losing our connectedness as you in my video right now. Hold on 1 second. Look at this. Hopefully I can open it up and play it live and present it to you. Sorry. Oh God.
Is this the same one that's on your website?
It is.
Because maybe Deja could pull that up and show it as well, if it's a problem.
Well, if she
There we go. While
You
we have
could. It's on the homepage of the website. I am trying to do it right now.
How's that?
That's it.
Okay.
Deja, you're amazing.
Take a look at our world. We all see what's happening. It's impossible to miss. We are losing our human connectedness. We see social unrest and political upheaval, environmental disasters and a hurting planet, and heartbreaking global conflict and destruction. These growing threats can cause a roller coaster of human emotions. It feels like we've all been through too much, leaving us restless, angry, sad. Now look at our kids. We see them becoming anxious and confused. They need our help now, while they're young. But how can we encourage them to develop resilience and hope? Teach them to understand and manage their feelings and emotions. Give them the tools to become critical thinkers and compassionate global citizens, and equip them with the social, emotional, and spiritual life skills that will serve their mental well-being now and for the rest of their lives. Spiritual Playdate was created for parents, teachers, faith educators, and therapists to use with kids aged 5 to 11. Just a few of our important life skills topics include fear and anxiety, forgiveness, understanding bullying, living and dying, and the all-important golden rule. All of our fun and interactive resources are just a click away. Host groups large or small in your home, school, or spiritual center. And your kids will grow to be kinder, stronger, and more confident. Why have a spiritual playdate? Because we believe that it's easier to build strong children than repair broken adults. Join us today at spiritualplaydate.com.
Yeah, it says it all, right? It really does. It says it all. The other thing, so there were two things that came to my mind, and I can't think of the second one. But the first one was that you make this very easy and accessible to all kinds of groups, parents, schools, faith centers. And one of the things for me is that to me also shows how important this is to your vision and mission of this needing to take place in our world today. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, because I know that it's like for a single family to join and just access some material for themselves, it could be as low as $2 a month US.
That's correct. That's correct. Actually, there's even a free membership that gives you 3 topics, and it gives you, some of the resources, so that you can do 9 sessions just in the free basic. Wow. We want this in people's hands. This is not about a bottom line. This is a legacy project, and we are really serious about scaling this for the world. That being said, we need to keep our work going. So we've decided that a $2 monthly it's really a donation to keep our work going, gives any individual, a teacher, we've got some therapists using it at $2 a month, social workers, teachers, and parents for them in their home. They could share it with their neighbor and do spiritual play dates on a weekly or monthly basis. It's $2 a month. It's billed monthly, and it is a contribution to sustain our work. That's for individuals. We have an affiliate organization membership, and that is for organizations, and that is for any kind of an organization like a house of worship, an interfaith organization, a youth organization. We've got wellness centers that are starting to join. We have 2 orphanages that we're going to be donating the memberships to. We will donate if folks are interested in the curriculum and the program, and they don't have the resources. I'm sorry, should turn that off. We don't have the resources. They don't have the resources. We will happily grant them the resources. We are interested in tithes and donations to help keep us going.
Yeah.
But our work here is to scale this and get it because there is this urgency that we have. And I do feel like, my son, my 7-year-old, he's 24. We have an urgency to get this into the hands of people that need it now. Kids that have gone through COVID and have lost family. There's so many, the refugees that are out there. There's so many children out there. Just found out here in Chicago, in Lake County, there are thousands of unaccompanied homeless children. Thousands of them. And there is an organization that we just got introduced to that is providing food, coats, all these things, but they're working with some of the orphanages and shelters and things, and they want to bring in something to support these kids emotionally.
Right.
Listen, the food and everything, critical. We can't go any farther until they're fed and clothed. But if we don't help them further to go through these situations that they're in, they're not going to be whole, happy.
Absolutely.
Struggle mightily. We can have the smallest trauma and struggle mightily. So see our children going through the things that they're going through. It's just, it's really heartbreaking. And I do think that we're fortunately finally at the time that we're recognizing that social, emotional, spiritual things are so important to human resilience. And we just released Resilience, by the way. Resilience is a great set of soul talks.
Wonderful.
Can this program be done through Zoom, or is it
100%.
Only for in-person?
100%. It was done on Zoom. We were doing it on Zoom before COVID. And there are a few activities that you might need to be adjusted slightly. We try to give everybody options when it comes to activities. Not all activities can be done on Zoom as easily, but I think we pretty much have most of the activities have at least an option for a Zoom. So, but 100%, we need it for, we need it. We need to do it however we can do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And before we were talking about going out into the community rather than really, waiting for people or the children to come to us. And so for me, one of the things that I would love for us to do is almost have this as an outreach project. By going out into the community and by offering it either at a school or a library or a community center, somewhere like that. And really, I think the hope would be that the parents would see the value and want to participate and create more groups as well, so that it's not the same people, small group doing it all the time, but that it grows in the community through participation of the community.
I think that's the dream, is that if people hear about it and they see the ease of and the value of it, and they realize how just critical it is to their kids. Parents are terrified to see their kids in such a state, in such an anxious state at such an early age. It's so common now to see our kids, their lives were so disrupted with COVID, and then with all these other things. It's, their childhood is not what our childhood was.
No,
it's not. So in order for us to get to them, I do think it would be wonderful if we had youth ed ministers, youth ed teachers, social workers actually say, hey, let's do a small neighborhood gathering, intergenerational. It can be parents, grandparents, and kids. Let's get together and sit down. It doesn't have to be a huge group. Maybe it's 6, 8 people. We've done it. We did it with 6. You could do it with 4. You could really do it. There are parents that will do it just with their kids. obviously a little bit more engaging when you have more people involved because you have more dialogue going.
Right.
Yeah. So that is the dream, is to spread it far and wide.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. What a wonderful thing you've started, you three women. Out of concern for your own kids. Like, I'm like, just like, wow, I feel like one of those people who wanted to have those conversations with their children. And by the time they were adolescents, it was too late. And because they didn't want to know, they weren't interested. The little bit that I did introduce beforehand just became null and void in their teenage years. And it was like, leave me alone, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'll figure it out myself, kind of thing. What it is for
and
me.
this, to be very frank, this isn't going to, the be all and the end all for the kids. They're still going to be teenagers, and they're still going to go through, and they may become atheists, and they may decide that it's not for them. I mean, it's just, but the mere fact that, and I think that's what's so interesting about our program, I really do feel, is that there are these things, these elements that are not necessarily religious, like understanding justice, understanding fear and anxiety. Those are valuable things that they will never lose, because it's not something that's, you have to believe in something else. It's about understanding yourself and how you operate as a human being.
Yes. And I think that for most of us, we don't get that opportunity. It's almost like giving them a foundation that they can then lift off from or build on, kind of thing, going through their own experience. But it gives them that critical thinking capacity to really think for themselves and be resilient and be confident and, be kind and all those things. That was the second thing, the golden rule. Is that a secret? What is the golden rule?
So the golden rule, I would say, we are about to introduce, it'll be out next week, so hopefully we can share that widely too. We have our blog on, it's the Golden Rule 2.0. And so the Golden Rule has been taught. There's 22 versions of the Golden Rule. And if you go on our website, we have a spinner that's got all the different religions and their version. And it's very, very similar. And they're crystallized all down to the same thing, which is that you and I are connected. It's a transformational, it's not transactional. It's not, I'll be nice to you and you'll be nice to me. It doesn't work that way. I might be nice to you. You might be terrible to me. And it's really something that happens instantaneously. It's a transformation. It's about yourself. So when I love you as I love myself, I immediately feel better about who I am because of the way I've behaved. So we have, and I'm going to share it with you today if I can. Hold on, let me try to present this one. I think I have a slide. Oh, no. Hold on, let's see. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to see it all. Can you see this?
No.
No?
No.
Hold on. There it is. Hold on. Can you see this?
No. I wonder if, oh my goodness.
Sarah, is it there now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when we talk about the golden rule, we talk about the fact that we're connected. So if I harm you, I harm myself. If I lift you up, I lift us both up. And there are so many ways of teaching this, but we teach it in a very childlike manner. I'll be nice to you, you'll be nice to me. That's how we treat it. Love your neighbor as yourself, And this is the first thing that I've ever found in all the years that I felt like was a real simple crystallization of what the golden rule is. It's an ancient Mayan precept called in Lakesh, and which sort of basically was translated to, you are another me. So there was a poet in like the 1970s who wrote about this, and he wrote this in Lakesh,
Mhm.
my other me, and we use it as a call and response. And if you'll indulge me, I'd love to call and response right now. I would
Mhm.
love people to use this for their opening their meetings, opening their classes, meeting with
Mhm.
kids, so that it just becomes sort of ingrained in us, because it's a simple way of understanding what the golden rule is.
Beautiful.
So I'm going to say a line, and if you can repeat after me.
Okay.
You are my other me.
You are my other me.
If I do harm to you,
If I do harm to you,
I do harm to myself.
I do harm to myself.
Myself.
If I love and respect you,
If I love and respect you,
I love and respect myself.
I love and respect myself.
And I feel strongly that if kids understood this, that they understood when they bullied, they were really hurting themselves and lowering themselves. And there's a shame involved. It might be on a subconscious level. They don't, they know they're behaving badly.
Mhm.
And then people reinforce that and say, you're bad.
Yeah.
Suddenly, like, I'm bad.
Yeah.
This is the golden rule. There's so much more going on with the golden rule.
Yeah.
We've sort of given this a new name. It's Golden Rule 2.0. It's the global peace hack, because we feel like everybody talks about love thy neighbor, golden rule, but people don't really study and understand the essence of it. And this breaks it down for a child. And
Beautiful.
I feel that this is something that we are having it translated into many languages. We'll be sharing it on the website as a download. You can download it. You can print it and hand it out, put it on your fridge.
Beautiful.
It's a really critical way of us trying to get back to that civility, back to that love,
Yeah.
seeing the divine in the other person, feeling the connection with the other person, understanding that they are hurting just like you're hurting.
And they're like me. They're no different to who I am. They have the same feelings, the same challenges. What a wonderful way to end the show. Oh my goodness. I am you and you are me. And what I do to you, I do to me. I love that. I really do. Thank you, Edwina. So, Mark, do you want to ask what our other co-host, Barbara Jean, always has a question at the end. I'll let Mark ask you.
Is there one particular thing that you would like to leave us with today?
Don't wait. Start where you are with the kids in your community. I don't care if you're a grandmother or a minister. We're all responsible to help these kids and create different and shift their consciousness. And I know that the adults we need to be fed. We need to, parents don't want to, they want to sit in the sanctuary and we all need to start as soon as possible and get going, because TikTok, time's a wasting. They need us. They need us now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Mark? If there was one thing you wanted people to walk away with from today?
Remembering that you are another me.
Yeah, I am you and you.
I think if we thought that way, things would be different. Things would change.
Absolutely, yeah. And for me, what I think impacted you as well, Mark, because you said it at the beginning, is, and I don't know how to say it properly, but it's something about it's easier to do something with kids now than to have to, it's easier than have to deal with harm later. I don't remember what it was, Edwina.
Easier to build strong children than to repair broken adults.
Oh my gosh, like
that's yeah. And you know what? That's a Frederick Douglass quote from, I don't know how long ago.
Yeah.
But it is one of our main taglines. We splash it everywhere because
so
we are a world of broken adults right now.
Yeah.
And we know how hard it is to change an adult and shift consciousness,
Absolutely.
So we have to get them while they're young.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Edwina. Thank you for being with us here today. To anybody who's watching now or later, like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you,
On
Edwina.
behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.